It is time for PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin. Dr. Bob guides you through the latest veterinary techniques and procedures to keep your pets in the best of health. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortus. With your ears up and tails wagging, here is Dr. Bob.
Hello, pet lovers. PetSylvania is your on-air animal magazine brought to you by SylvaniaVET and Elanco, makers of Trifexis and Comfortus, as you've heard. I was going to start today's program talking about big box stores and so forth, but we're going to get to that in a minute because I have to tell you about what it's been like the last 24 hours in Sylvania and specifically at SylvaniaVET. Local listeners will know that there was a huge storm that kind of sort of blew in without much warning and blew right through and caused a lot of damage. So I'm in the exam room and I'm talking with a new client about the major problem that their dog had. It had a tumor in its abdomen and its spleen. We're talking about it. The next thing I know, out goes the power, and we're thinking, uh-oh. When that's happened in the past, it's usually been fairly short-lived, and as a result, we didn't worry about it too much. But as time went on, we were working. We stayed open. We stayed working. People were coming from other practices that had shut their doors, and we're seeing emergencies. We had 3 doctors there. When we closed at 7, we had 3 doctors there helping out and working together until 8 o'clock. It was still no power, and frankly, I was telling clients, I feel like Abe Lincoln learning how to read by the light of candlelight and the fire, and it was really old time veterinary medicine, looking at skin with flashlights. And thank goodness we had one exam room with a window, and then we had skylights back in our dog treatment area, so we did have some natural light until it got later. We had one small generator, so we got that out and cranked it up and used that for essentials, moved all our vaccine out and took that home, and we got through the night. And we were worried about what was going to happen this morning because I still had to do surgery on my case. And about noon, just as we were getting ready to go with portable lighting, we had gotten a big generator delivered, and we were getting ready to hook up the generator to our air conditioning system as well. Lo and behold, Toledo Edison comes through. We've got full power. About 10 minutes later, cable system comes through. Our phones are back on. Let me tell you, if you have nothing but digital, you are really a caveman when you lose both those services because there's no alternatives. Thank goodness for cell phones. They still work. At any rate, I got to do my major surgery. It was a horrific looking splenic tumor. Everything went well. I just left the office and saw my patient. He's jumping up and trying to leave. He thinks it's time to go home, but not yet. He's going to be there a couple of days. We've got to make sure that everything is good and there are no complications with surgery. But we do a lot of complex surgeries at SylvaniaVET, and that's one of them. And the ability to have even that overnight staff there working with flashlights, they took good care of the patients that were there and enabled us to provide that 24/7 service that we're famous for. So let's, I had a question that it was asked, and Diane wants to know, why do dogs that we used to call mutts are now called designer dogs or hybrids? And we're talking about Labradoodles and Bichon Doodles. And I mean, you think about any kind of combination and you can come up Puggles. You can come up with any kind of combination name you want. And somehow these have become very fashionable. And not only are they fashionable, but they're expensive. But you can't listen to what the breeders tell you about these. They're special. We've bred out all the bad genes. Not true. They're no, a Labradoodle isn't allergic inducing like a Labrador is because it's got the poodle in. Maybe that's true because if it has predominant poodle hair, that might be true. But the reality is it isn't the hair to which people are allergic. Whether that be dogs or cats, it's their saliva. And so if you have a dog that doesn't shed a lot and doesn't groom themselves a lot, then there won't be a lot of saliva on their hair, and you won't have a lot of the allergen floating around the house, getting on your bed, getting on your hands, and then you rub your face. So, I don't want to offend all my clients and all the owners of mixed breed dogs out there that they called Labradoodles or whatever it is you want to call. And I hate to pick on Labradoodles, but the reality is that you can't reproduce the genetics of that breed by breeding them together. And as you track out the genetics of it, the further out you go, you're going to get further mixing, further dilution of that. And so they're not purebreds by any stretch of the imagination. So as long as you go in and you know what you're getting, I would tell you then make your good choices. But it's never a bad idea to look at a rescue organization for a puppy that might be available. Oh, by the way, we have 3 puppies available at SylvaniaVET right now that came in through our rescue organization, the Memories Live On Animal Foundation, that need homes desperately. They're cute. They're called Bob, Tim, and Matt. That's named after myself and my 2 boys. The 4th one, Kevin, was adopted. He's now Pickles. Kevin's not very happy about that. And so the reality is that we'd love to show you these dogs. They're current and up to date on their vaccines. We're going to provide the additional care that they need right through their full vaccine series at reduced rates for you. It would be a great way for you to get for a pet for your home and provide a forever home for Bob and Tim and Matt. And so please give us a call at SylvaniaVET 419-885-4421, or you can see them either on our Facebook page at SylvaniaVET on Facebook, or you can see them on our website, www.sylvaniavet.com. So that's kind of a little commercial there that we're going to do. They, of course, have been given appropriate doses of Trifexis because we feel that's a really great product that protects against both fleas as well as heartworm. So in one tablet given once monthly, they have protection against the 2 major things that we want to be protected against year-round. Later today, we'll talk a little bit more about why we want to do that, and so. I've kind of jumped around here a little bit about some of the things that I was going to talk about today, and I hope that I answered Diane's question. A friend of mine, Dr. Carey, asked me when I asked her, ask me a question that I can talk about on air. And she's a veterinarian and in another state, and she says, how should I tell clients? How should I tell clients that they should be giving heartworm and flea control year-round? And so the answer to that is that we have very strange weather in north of the Mason-Dixon line. Like we talked about last year, heartworm was thought to not exist above the Mason-Dixon line, but it does. And so last winter it was so mild. We had fleas in January and February. We had nice enough weather to actually get some mosquitoes. We get much better compliance out of clients, and the dogs get much better protection if it's used year round. And actually, if you buy a year's worth of both of any of the products that are brand name products, Frontline Plus, HeartGuard Plus, Trifexis, Comfortis, those products are guaranteed and have rebates that will be bring the cost down for you. So we're going to take a little break here, and we'll be back shortly so that we can continue with this discussion on PetSylvania. Well, I'm back, and it was got a chance to get a drink of water and relax a little bit after talking my tongue off. And I promised you last week that sometimes I would tell you stories, and so I was talking about with one of my new associates about what it was like when I started back in 1970. And you come out of school and you're all just full of yourself. You think you've gotten all this knowledge, and you've spent 4 years just studying your fanny off, and you're working in the clinics your senior year, and you go out into the real world and you get a job. And my first job was in Madison, Wisconsin, in a 4-doctor practice, and So, you look pretty young, even though you're 25. You look pretty young, and people are kind of skeptical of somebody that looks that young. And so I'm in the room working with a guy with his dog, and I'm asking all these probing questions to get good history and start figuring out what's wrong, because my patients can't talk to me, and so the good observer of a client enables us to help make the diagnosis. And so I'm asking away and examining. And I got my otoscope out and my stethoscope, and I'm listening to the heart and the lungs, and I'm asking him questions about his exercise tolerance and things like that. And what he did is the next thing I know is he served me a large piece of humble pie. And with his question, he said, "Say, Doc, do you have to go to school to learn this trade?" And so I said, "Yeah, I spent 4 years after my 3 years in undergraduate in veterinary school. So yeah, I have 7 years of college to learn this trade." So it was a little humbling when people don't recognize your expertise the way you do. So it's never a good idea to look in the mirror and think that you're just the smartest guy in the land. And I've tried to remember that the little humbling lesson all along the way. So I think that one of the things that I'd like to talk with you about at this point is housebreaking. People are getting this summer's a great time to get a puppy. And next week we'll talk a little bit about training kitties, but today we're going to talk about training a puppy. And because a lot of people want to get it, they're home a little more in the summer, and the kids are home, so they can be a part of the training and of course the responsibility mode. And so as a result, there's always a lot of questions about how to properly house train your dog. Fortunately, I think that the old wives' tale of if a puppy makes a mistake, you rub their nose in it. That's kind of gone the way of the dodo bird, and it absolutely should have. Punishment really does zero good in almost every case is training a puppy. It's our responsibility to teach them and reinforce the right way and reinforce when they do something right, and try to prevent the mistakes from happening. Many mistakes when it comes to BM and urine are really our fault because we haven't paid close enough attention. So we have this really nice handout at SylvaniaVET, and you're more than welcome to call and ask us to fax it to you, or that you can come in and pick it up. But we spend 15-20 minutes at every new puppy visit talking with our clients and going through this outline so that you have clear details of that. I'm not going to be able to give you the whole thing. I don't have 15 or 20 minutes here today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is you feed a good high quality food, and we talked about that. Those are foods from companies that are doing nutritional research. Hills, Imes, the Royal Canin, and Nestle Purina, which is Pluroplan. Those foods are made by companies that actually invest in the knowledge of proper feeding. Those are the foods that we recommend. You feed those high-quality foods at specific meal times so that you know when it goes in. Puppies have an urge to go, usually 5 to 20 minutes after consuming food. So now you can begin to learn and begin to establish a pattern. What you want to do is you establish a routine for taking the puppy outside. You put a leash on, go to the same door, stop at the door, get the puppy to respond. You can hang a bell from the door with a little Cheese Whiz or peanut butter on it. Puppy licks it, good dog, out we go. We go to the same part of the yard. You go with her on the end of the leash so that you're with him when he's there and he starts to go. You can be talking about going potty. You can actually train a dog to go on verbal command. And so now you're speeding that process along. If you're going to food reward that behavior, take it with you. It's too late if you bring it in the house. The next step is to use a cage or a kennel, a confined space. As long as the puppy thinks of that as its bedroom and not Alcatraz, then it's a really positive way of incorporating the puppy into the training process, because most dogs want to not soil their bed, and so they'll participate by holding it as long as they possibly can. But just like an infant, they can't hold it as long as you can, or as your 10-year-old can. So you got to be prepared for that. Every time we come out of the cage, then you follow your routine for going outside. So that routine becomes part of your routine as well. The next step is no freedom that the puppy hasn't earned. This is like a toddler. You can't have a puppy wandering away out of sight, out of mind. Nothing good's going to happen. And so that's when trouble is going to happen. They're going to either potty or they're going to get a hold of something and chew it up. It's always going to be something value, like that brand new pair of shoes that you just brought home, or the computer cord, something like that. So it's your responsibility to keep that puppy under really close supervision. If you have your children in charge, you got to make sure that they don't get distracted. Let's make sure they're old enough to have that level of responsibility. They get so involved in watching TV or playing a computer game or emailing and texting and all the other electronic play things that kids do today. It's sometimes kind of hard for them to stay on task supervising that puppy. You want to pick, in the next step, you want to pick up on the signals, and it should be easy if he's right there with you, that say, I got to go, circle, sniff, whine, head to the door, let's hope, all right? Wake up from a nap, stop chewing on something, are all signals that say, I got a potty. Let's hustle outside, turn a potential negative into a positive. And the last step is you miss the signals. And there we are going right in front of us. And lo and behold, we get frustrated. But if we go yelling at the puppy, it's going to skitter along. And now instead of a nice little spot, we've got a long line that we have to deal with. All right. So again, keep the puppy on hard surface because it's a lot easier to clean that up. And, but try to distract the puppy if you see it making a mistake. Pick it up, carry it outside, remind it where it's supposed to potty because the scent triggers are still there. And then you come back in and tuck it in its cage and clean it up. And if it's soap and water on hard surface, great. If it's on carpet, what you need to do is you need to use a good enzyme deodorizer. And we like products called Outright and the Equalizer. Those are all great products. Puppies gain control of their urine and bowel somewhere around 10 weeks of age. So prior to that, it's going to be really hard. Your first goal, of course, is to get that puppy through the night. Always reward positive behavior with positive reinforcement. Reward outside when you come back in, like I said. And do not paper or wee-wee pad train. It's time for another break. Endorsement. Well, I'm back for our last segment, and I just have a few things that I want to talk with you about. Those puppies, we get them started on heartworm protection and flea protection right away. So any puppy that's over 5 pounds, we prescribe Trifexis and get them going. And then that becomes a lifetime course every month, every day of every year of the dog's life. When we offer and recommend things, one of the great things about SylvaniaVET being a 24-hour pet care destination is that we don't stop just with medical surgical care. We have a training facility, and so these things that we talk about as far as training is concerned, we kind of back up, put our money where our mouth is by offering training classes. And so we have puppy development classes and we have basic obedience classes starting about every 6 weeks. Our next puppy development class starts Saturday, July 14th at 3 p.m. Give us a call if you'd be interested in learning more about that. I'll give you the number in a minute. Or basic obedience starts Saturday, July 14th at 4 o'clock, same day. They run 5 and 6 week sessions respectively. The number to reach to learn more about our positive dog training program is 419-885-4421, or go to the website at www.SylvaniaVET.com, and you can learn more about the classes. Our trainer is Doug Ritter, who has over 30 years of experience. He does everything in a positive way, which is, of course, what we've been talking about as we go along. What I'd like to do is just give you a couple of thoughts on some events that are coming up that are really near and dear to our heart. Every other month we have an adopt-a-thon at SylvaniaVET, and this month's one of the months that we're holding an adopt-a-thon, and that's going to be that on Sunday, July 22nd, from noon to 3 o'clock at SylvaniaVET in our Canine Learning Center, which is also our doggy daycare facility, which we'll talk about next week, is the Adopt-a-thon. So bring the family. It's a great way to meet some adoptable dogs from area rescues that are looking for forever homes. Then on July 27th and 28th, Pizza Palooza is being held and sponsored by the Sylvania Chamber of Commerce at Centennial Quarry at Centennial and Sylvania Metamora Road. There's about 8 area pizza establishments that are going to be providing their product for everybody. There's going to be great music, lots of fun, and we're going to have a judging contest. And lo and behold, I get to be one of the judges. So come on out and see us. So it's time for me to go. I'd really appreciate if you would send questions so that we can answer them on air. But remember that the SylvaniaVET phone number is 419-885-4421, and SylvaniaVET's website address is www.sylvaniavet.com. And with that, I'll say there is only one greatest pet, and it lives in your home.
You have been listening to PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin on WSYLradio.com. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortus. Tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. as Dr. Bob explains the latest in veterinary care and answers your questions. You can email your pet questions to requests@WSYLradio.com, and Dr. Bob will answer them on a future show.